Well, the immediate funding crisis involving the FAA is over for now, but bigger battles are still ahead, including a fight over rules governing union airlines and elections. Also, we got unemployment numbers this week that showed a slight tick down. Joining us now to break that down is Furchtgott-Roth, former U.S. Labor Department chief economist under President George W. Bush and senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Great to be with you.
All right, let's talk about the unemployment number we got on Friday, 9.1. It was a tenth of a percentage point down. Does it tell us the whole story, though?
It does not tell us the whole story because the labor force participation rate also declined from 64.1% to 63.9%. So one reason the unemployment rate went down is because many Americans withdrew from the labor force. In fact, we have the lowest percentage of Americans participating in the labor force since January of 1984. And that's pretty low. And that's a very sad commentary on what's going on in our labor markets today.
And of course, to turn things around, we have to see the addition of a lot of jobs each month. What is the number that we should be looking for if we're actually going to start to bring unemployment down more significantly?
Well, many people say we need about 200,000, 225,000 jobs created every month, those kinds of figures, and we're nowhere near right now.
All right, so what can be done to encourage U.S. businesses to do more hiring? Are there policies in place now that could be tweaked by Congress, by the White House, to try to turn things around?
There are so many things we could be doing at no cost to turn things around, and President Obama could just pick up the phone and call some of his cabinet secretaries. He could call EPA Administrator Lisa Jackson and say, why don't we just hold off on those new ozone rules or clean air rules until the unemployment rate is down to 7%. He could call his Interior Secretary and say, why don't we just allow more oil drilling in the Gulf? Because there's been a moratorium since the BP oil spill. That's about a year and a half ago. He could tell his National Labor Relations Board acting general counsel, Leif Solomon, hey, why don't you just lay off Boeing? Because Boeing wants to open a new plant in South Carolina to build Dreamliners. And Leif Solomon of the National Labor Relations Board says they can only open a new plant in Washington State where they have their existing plant. And I mean, the list can go on and on. Each cabinet secretary is doing things that impede businesses from creating jobs. And you know, with all this deficit and debt talk, you might think that to fix this costs millions or trillions of dollars. It doesn't. It just takes one phone call from the president to make things a lot easier on employers and on hiring.
Well, each thing that you mentioned, though, very controversial, especially to some of his base. The president would take a lot of heat for doing one or more of those things.
Well,
do you think that it's
true.
possible that he would be willing to do that?
It's a big disadvantage for the president running for re-election with an unemployment rate around 9%. I think many of his base, many people in the country just want more jobs. They want to see their friends, neighbors back to work. They want to see more opportunities. I think he'd be a lot better off if he maybe abandoned some of the more restrictive policies that his base wants and brought the whole unemployment rate down, and he'd have a much better chance to get reelected. So there's some free advice for President Obama.
All right, we'll see if he's listening and if he takes it. Furchtgott-Roth, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.